In our study of psychology, the next thing we'll do is we'll introduce two other ideas. So the first idea I'll introduce is the idea of dualism, and then I'll also talk about the idea of monism. So what do you say? What do you think influences your behavior, right? And then many characters in history had different answers. Some answers that just seem funny, right? But then one idea that gained popularity was an idea by an ancient philosopher by the name of Rene Descartes. So Rene Descartes believed in this idea of Cartesian dualism or interactive dualism in some context. So what was this idea? So the idea of dualism was was a philosophical idea that the human existence could be reduced into two entities, right? It could be reduced into two irreducible entities. So those two entities will be the material entity, and then we'll also have the immaterial entity. In simple words, what am I trying to say? That human beings have two aspects to them. So the first aspect is the material entity, and the second aspect is the immaterial entity. So the material entity is what we call the body, right? And then the immaterial entity is what we call the mind or the spirit or the soul, depending on what you want to call it, right? So Rene Descartes was the first psychologist or philosopher at this point to make this observation. He was the first to acknowledge the division between the mind and the body. This is an exam question, so just take note of that one. However, as time went on, not everyone agreed with this idea, mostly because there was no scientific way to prove the existence of the mind, the soul, right, or the spirit, right? And so a new school of thought emerged. This school of thought was called monism. So what monism believed that human beings or human behavior as a whole is as a result of the physiological processes of our body, right? In other words, there's only one thing, which is the material aspect of a human being, and then the physiological activities occurring from the material aspects is what gives rise to our behavior. So what have we discussed? We've discussed two things. We've discussed monism, and then we've also discussed dualism. So that will mark the end of this video.